All right, everyone, welcome back to the Off Court Podcast, episode 15.
15 episodes.
Wow,
We're
not
here.
bad. We're here. Today, we're bringing you a bit of a different episode. As you all know, the Premier Padel circuit is in a hiatus right now, coming back in, like a couple weeks?
Yeah, we had a triple header. I think it's good. Everyone takes a little
Yeah.
paddle break, but
Yeah.
I am
Until the
missing
next tournament, it's still a while. So, we this is the Off Court Podcast. We like making paddle content, obviously, and we just want to
Hell
keep
yeah.
making it. So we're bringing you a bit of a different one today. Connor and I will be ranking the top pairs in the Premier Paddle circuit so far in the 2025 season.
And emphasis on so far.
So far.
I think maybe this is probably going to piss off a lot of people.
Maybe.
Or piss off some people.
We'll take the
But,
risk.
Let's treat it like a, beginning of the year test. This isn't a final grade.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do something like this towards the end of the season.
And compare.
Compare.
Yeah.
But we thought there's a break. What can we do? Let's just put some of our stupid opinions together and share it with you guys. And we'd love to hear what you guys think as well. But yeah, we have got from the men and women the top 10-ish.
Top 10-ish pairs. And the ones that have racked up the most points
Exactly.
since the beginning of the season, since the Riyadh P1
Yes.
up until now. So approximately, depends on the pairings, boycott stuff, but
Yeah.
more or less 7 tournaments so far.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Extra emphasis on so far.
On so far,
I mean, look, we have 7 tournaments in, 1 major, 3 P1s, 3 P2s, and a boycott. Let's just get initial vibes. What's your take of the season so far?
It's been interesting,
A
to
lot of
say the least.
drama,
A lot
yeah.
of drama, a lot of it's
weather.
been like quite like problematic. A
Yeah.
lot of cancelled finals,
Yes.
injuries, fevers, weathers,
Injuries. Did you say that?
sandstorms,
Yes.
like a bunch of stuff. But I think it started off in an exciting way.
Yes.
We left off 2024 in a maybe not so exciting way, especially on the men's side of things.
No.
Having a clear domination by Cuello Tapia doesn't mean that they're, not dominating now, which they kind of are a little bit. But, it's been a bit of a different sensations.
There's a little bit more pressure, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can say pressure for the men's circuit. Definitely for the women's circuit, though.
Yeah.
That sort of like race for number 1 has been really fun to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been an interesting landscape so far. As Hugh said already, a lot of drama, a lot of weather issues, which seems like a hot topic in the paddle world.
Yeah.
I think that's just a great thing that paddle people or paddle players are really good at doing, is just complaining about the weather, it seems.
Yeah.
But
it's something that they do need to fix, I think,
Yes.
and especially the beginning of the season a couple months ago, it was a very tumultuous time in the paddle world. Now things are like stabilizing a bit more, but I think I guess for me to sum up this season or so far is like I'm glad that paddle is sort of back to normal kind of thing, where we're getting
we have
the top
top players.
pairings and. Regardless of injury or whatever, that will always be the case. I'm glad that we're back to, seeing the best paddle in the world, which is what everyone wants, right?
So in short,
what about yourself, Connor? Like what?
A shaky start, I think.
Yeah.
I think, sure, you get players who are injured and stuff like that, but there's nothing worse than watching a whole tournament and then we don't even get a final. So that happened twice, I think, in Riyadh and in Santiago too.
Yeah.
So yeah, not the best. I think there's from the new pairings, obviously some of you might be thinking already, there's been a bunch of changes already.
Yes.
Which we're going to address in some way. We won't forget them and we won't leave them out. But I don't know. It's going to rack up to a pretty sort of interesting midway point. I think I want to see a little bit more of Stupa LeBron. Hopefully Stupa's injury is going all good, because it kind of adds a little bit more pressure on that like road to the quarterfinals and the semis. And then, it's the same old story a little bit with Koya and Tapia. Some days they're on their good day. I think Tapia's all good from his injury now. So maybe it might turn into a repeat of that. But,
let's hope
they haven't had the best start to the season. So you might see our rankings reflect that.
Yeah.
So Anyway, should we get into the rankings?
This is, guys, this is just like a bit of fun.
We're
a nice episode, sort of filler episode before Paddle comes back.
Exactly.
So yeah, sit back, relax, enjoy. Let us know in the comments also your opinions.
Yes.
If you agree or disagree with us, because
definitely,
you might do both. This is also like the first time we're doing this.
Yes.
So there might be a lot of maybe a bit of repetition. I don't think anyone else has done it yet. This like the ranking of pairings. So
maybe there's a reason for it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Or realize during the filming of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna start from sort of the bottom of the men's list, working our way upwards, and
then we'll get into the women's.
And yeah, so I mean,
let's start.
It's already getting sticky because on our list here it's Garrido and Lubac who have played one tournament.
Garrido, and it wasn't the best tournament for them.
It was such a bad start for them. How should we do this? Do you want to give me yours and then I'll give you mine and then we'll switch back and forth?
Okay. So wait, let's. I guess we'll have the here already, but tier list goes from S being the best rank down to F being the worst rank, and our opinions are going to be based on our personal sensations and opinions.
Or just vibes.
Vibes, also like points, numbers of quarters, semis, finals, tournaments, titles, all that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so Garrido, Livac. Terrible start of the season. I have given them, just because I kind of believe in this pairing, I have given them a C.
Nice.
Even though they had a terrible start, I don't think we can fully judge them by just one tournament. And they've never played together. It's a bit, I don't know. Yeah.
It was a bit of a stonker. I was a bit harsher.
What did you give them?
I gave them a D.
Okay.
Because I think they went out in like round 32.
Yeah,
or
they
something
did. They
like
did.
That. It's Garrido and Livac. Like they're not. I know it's a new team. They've never played together before, but I think I was just kind of riding off the highs of sort of Dineno and Teo, hoping that they would get their momentum. Obviously, we know that there's a bit of history with Dineno and Teo, and it's one of the reasons why they paired up together. But yeah, I was so disappointed, and I think it was like
they should have won that.
Yeah, they should have won it easy. I think I think it's a big statement anyway.
So. I'd be comfortable with a D. I think we can.
Let's give them a D plus.
D plus.
A D plus.
D plus. High D. Okay.
A high D. Yeah.
Let's do that. Okay. So that's our first pairing. And then we go into number 9, which is Dineno Teo, who've also only played one tournament together. Pretty good sensations.
Yeah.
From them, no, they did pretty well. So what did you give them?
Okay, this ranking. Okay, we have to go with a little bit of like future perspective.
Exactly.
A little bit.
Same as Garrido Livac kind of thing, But yeah.
Shit. Okay. I feel bad giving them a D. I'm excited for them, and I think they went with a lot of momentum. I gave them a B minus, a low B.
I gave them a B.
Oh, okay, cool.
I gave them a B as well.
Yeah. So I think with their chemistry, with their with the energy, I think really it was a big sort of decision when Dineno called up Teo, right? It was the story was that Teo and Livac are finally getting in the groove of it, and it could have been a great story. He was like complimenting him on the court, and he was like, "Man, Livac, young guy, it's the guy with the
we can beat anyone
we
together.
We can do it, yeah, we can do it." And then it was like 2 days later, it's like this big switch up, basically. So. I am excited. I think they have a lot of pressure on them, basically, to live up to the expectations a little bit, because, as I said just a few minutes ago, they do have a lot of history together. They're very good friends.
But I think the key word is the one you said, chemistry.
Yes.
I think that's what defines this pairing, is that they are good friends off the court. No pun intended.
Exactly.
And they've played together before. They know each other really well. And regardless of their talent as players, I mean, undeniably they both have a lot,
Yes.
I think they can do good things. I don't think they can, fight obviously for number 2s.
I mean,
or
look, they got
threes.
to the semi-finals in their first tournament.
But
together.
we'll see how they do. Okay, so I think just a standard B, high B, low B. What do you think?
Let's give them a low B.
Low B, B minus.
Just to play it safe a little bit.
Okay. Cool.
Before like the villagers come with pitchforks, because they'll see my other rating that I gave also a B.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Number 8 pairing. What do we got here?
We got Tolito and Alfonso.
Yes,
the
Los
fun guys.
Mágicos, the magicians.
Yes, or the boycott boys
Yeah.
as well, who took their cash grab. Fair enough to them, I guess.
Yeah.
I love watching them play, I guess, when they have their cool moments.
Mm-hmm.
But to see that the difference, and this is something we spoke about as well, it's like, when they played during those like boycott conditions, it was like, oh shit, these guys, they came from A1, dominating A1, and now they're in Premier Padel. Obviously not playing against like the top players, but it was like, okay, now let's see what happens when they play against the top players. Done in round 32, you know what I mean? So
I mean, they've made 2 finals.
Yeah.
And
which is
the 2 finals were the 2 boycott tournaments, so Gijón and Cancun.
Yeah.
And they lost both.
One lost to like a 16-year-old.
One to Gaveza and Garcia, and the other one to Stupa Lebron, which is fair enough,
Yeah.
So yeah. What?
So I gave them a low C. I was pretty disappointed.
I gave them a D.
You gave them a D.
I mean, come on. I think. I genuinely think that.
Man, Hugh doesn't like them because they spit on the court as well. So I'll throw you under the bus too.
That's fair enough. I personally, I don't enjoy watching them as much as other people, just because I think I have a different.
I like trick shots.
Yeah, I know.
But
yeah.
You're like, I know, you're stupid.
I prefer a more maybe boring style of paddle, like I don't know, like
real
a
paddle, if you want
like
to
a
call it
Yanguas Koki style, where it's like control and.
I'll give you that.
But I mean, come on, they've. It's great that they're trying in the Premier Padel circuit.
Yeah,
absolutely. But the only reason they're in number 8, and remember, this is
true.
This is 2025, so the only reason they have 980 points in the ranking right now so far this season is because
of the two
boycott tournaments where they, like in 2 tournaments, they both went up individually like 70 positions in the ranking.
Do you think they'll go back to A1? After this being like, oof, this is a bit tough, isn't it?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe they can establish themselves as a
Premier Padel.
I
wonder if the money's better, actually. Anyway, let's not get into that. I also hear word on the street, this is just rumors, that A1 Padel might be ending.
Really?
This is like, this is dirty rumors. This is not anything like backed up, but I'm hearing that bubble around the paddle world.
We'll look into it, and maybe I had no idea.
Yeah, I've just heard little leaks and stuff like that. Okay. But anyway, that's a whole other video.
Okay, so what you gave them a C-?
I gave them a C-. You gave them a D. I think let's give them a D+. High D. Yeah, they're in the D zone right now.
D zone. Yeah.
I love the flair. Mm-hmm. Their physical prowess, if you want to call it that. Their technical ability, I'm not too sure.
I mean, especially from.
I mean, just to get close to the quarters, semi, and finals has just been pretty disappointing when like all of the top players have been there. So I think it's a pretty justifiable thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think next
on
Super Smash Bros.
Super Smash Bros. Cardona Augsburger.
Yes.
Very interesting pairing. They're number 7 in the ranking.
One of the most hype pairs so far this season.
Yeah. I think. Okay, should we say ranking first, and then I guess maybe justify our rankings?
Sure. What did you give them?
I gave them. I think they deserve a B, if not, maybe even higher. They defeated Chingalan.
Yeah.
In quarters in Riyadh, and they defeated
Cuello
Tapia in round of 16 in Santiago. I know that Tapia had a broken hand or whatever. Injury. Remember also that these guys, because of their ranking, because of how they're seated in the tournaments, they go up against big boys early on.
Yeah, their road to the final is very tricky.
And they've managed 3 quarters and 1 semis, and just in terms of like, regardless of just pure results, in terms of just how enjoyable it is to watch them and how much potential they have, I think they deserve to be up there at a B. What did you give them?
I gave them an A+.
A+. Okay.
We're
justify.
We're 7 tournaments in.
Yeah.
Their style of play is very like it sounds douchey, but like new age paddle style, aggressive. They like it. Really what I like the most is that they're stressing Cuello and Tapia out the most out of all of the other players, and they're a little bit further down the rankings. So I do enjoy that like quarterfinal sort of meet and greet that they have now on their way there.
Okay.
And they are young. They're a new pairing, but it seems like they can hold their ground themselves already. and I think they deserve so far. Extra emphasis on so far.
So far,
they've made me probably the most impressed out of all of the pairings.
Yes,
and I'll give them that.
Yeah.
So that's why I've
I mean,
ranked them
I
really
said B,
highly.
if not higher. So
Yeah.
I'd be comfortable.
Should we give them a B plus and meet in the middle, or an
Yeah.
A minus, a low A?
Yeah,
You're gonna kill me when I see my other.
Let's meet each other in A minus.
Yeah.
Meet each other in A minus, and yeah, well, yeah. I think that's good. Okay.
A low A for Cardona and Augsburger there.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're just genuinely exciting to watch. I like them. They're doing great.
Yeah.
They're only going to get better as they play more. So let's see where they end up by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And hopefully one of them doesn't get called up by a bigger player. Basically.
Let's not forget they're super young, both of them.
Exactly.
As well. Yeah.
They reached 3 quarterfinals, 1 semi. I wouldn't be surprised if they got 1 title this year.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. If not, maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of expectations for them.
Yeah, maybe one of those P2s that maybe top 3 or 4 seeds aren't
playing the odd one.
Playing.
Yeah.
I think they can take it easily.
You know what I mean? I like that. I have a lot of. I've become a bit of a fan of them. I guess I like
100%.
their aggression too. So. I'm looking at the next one, which I already regret my grading, but I'm gonna stay true to it and not change it.
Okay. I struggled a bit with this one,
Yeah,
but
it's tough,
let's discuss it. See.
We have Paquito Navarro and Bergamini.
Yes.
Which have been they've been an interesting pair to keep an eye on. They haven't got that far down the road a few times.
But the way they started the season versus how they are now.
Yes.
The last couple months.
It's 2 things for me. The fact that Paquito's a bit of a legend.
Yeah.
He's a living legend, if you want to call it that. He's still playing today.
One of the oldest in the circuit.
And
think.
he can keep up. I do get frustrated with his play style a little bit because I'm a
backhand player.
I've got that Gen Z brain. I'm newer to the world of paddle, and I like the fast-paced play. So when I see an easy smash and he hits a bandeja in the back, I'm like, you've done that 5 times, broski, please. However, I think Bergamini is possibly one of the most underrated players on the tour right
100%
now.
100% agree.
From Brazil as well. It's great to see another nationality get there to the top 10 in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's great. Very similar style to Chingato a little bit because he's a bit smaller in stature, but he can hold his ground in a bit more of a defensive style. You're going to be like, I'm saying all these things. I gave them a C.
I gave them a C.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, because
I gave them a C because I think it's impressive.
Yeah.
They've done 2 semis and 1 quarters.
Yeah.
They're in at number 6. I don't know how they're seeded right now in each tournament. I don't know if they might be pair number 6 or 7, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe even lower. I'm not too sure. We're not too sure.
Someone fact check us.
Yeah. So they also, go up against big guys early on.
Yeah.
But they made the semis of a major.
Yeah, okay.
Of the Qatar major. They knocked out Yanguas and Nieto. I don't know if it was in the major or another one.
Yeah.
Because they've made 2 semis. In Brussels. Yeah. So
Brussels
the last 2
Qatar.
tournaments, major and Brussels, they've made 2 semis, which is pretty good.
So...
But as you were saying, for me, what justifies this is that, they are both incredible players. But for me as well, it's one of those things where it's like, it feels like they need like an iOS update kind of thing, a little bit like you just like the way you play.
Yeah.
The only way they could beat Yanguas and Nieto, which was like a 3-set like crazy game.
It was a crazy game.
Was because also Yanguas and Nieto kind of similar-ish style.
Yeah.
It was, if it's a slow court, they're Gucci.
Exactly.
But
the moment it's a fast-paced one,
I feel like they struggle a bit.
Yeah, we'll give them that.
And I echo what you said before. I do think Bergamini is an awesome player.
Yeah, he's very, very good.
So I think a C is fair.
Yeah, we'll give him a C. I like that we agreed on that. That's our.
And a C isn't terrible.
No, it's not actually. So we'll give that there.
I think I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with a C.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of moving higher up the ranks.
Yeah.
So maybe we won't get as many lower. I don't know what Hughes got.
We'll see.
We'll go from there basically.
Mm-hmm.
We now have. Actually, that's such a bullshit. We'll do Dineno and Garrido.
Yeah. We'll do Dineno. I know we've did Dineno and Tello, but because Dineno and Garrido have been playing throughout most of the season.
Exactly.
And I think this echoes why they split up.
Yes.
What did you give them?
Man, F. It
You
sucked.
gave him an F.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I gave them an E.
Okay.
Because I felt bad.
Oh, you gave them
But
an E.
I gave them
Holy
an
shit.
E, being like, okay, whatever. But I mean,
I was talking to Hugh at the beginning of the episode, and I was like, "Should we even have E and F?" He's like, "Oh yeah, dude."
Yeah,
I put E
definitely.
and F there. I was like, "Oh fuck, that's okay. We're going harsh."
yeah.
I mean, look, yeah, it was just like they weren't working together.
They just didn't work.
It didn't
And
work,
that's okay.
and that's it. So I put them in an F because they got put in the fridge or freezer, if you want to say it like that. Hugh gave them an E, which is just impossible. I am seeing here they made 3/4, but
yes, they did
maybe,
quarter in Qatar.
Yeah.
And then I'm not sure about the other 2 tournaments, but
yeah, pretty underwhelming performance from the beginning of the season, and I think they realized that pretty quickly on. And look, now they got their new pairings. Happy for Dineno and Teo.
Yeah.
Garrido back. We'll see what happens.
But so what are we agreeing on then?
So you gave them an F, we got an E. I think we're being pretty harsh, I'll be honest, but at the same time,
let's give them maybe a low E.
A low F.
A low F or a high F.
Oh, dude, I'm being an idiot now. I thought E was before F.
E is higher than F.
Let's give them a low E.
A low E.
Wow, that's so bad. I was just chatting shit the whole time. I gave them the harsher ranking.
Yeah, you gave them like the worst.
Dude, I'm realizing how the alphabet works, guys. I gave them a harsh one, actually. Shit.
That's okay. But maybe, did you mean an E?
No, I meant,
okay,
probably.
Let's give them a low E.
Low E it is.
Low E.
And we'll never see them play again, I don't ever think, unless it's, for a fun reason. But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's get into the top 8 players.
Exactly.
Now. Number 4, Yanguas Koki.
I gave them a B+. I think they're very consistent. I think they're good chemistry vibes. It seems like they have their play style that they want to, approach, trying to, get further down the road. Does it take them all the way there? It hasn't. But I think the consistency of them getting to 4 semis.
I mean, they've made all the semis. All the semis they've played except Brussels, where they went down to Paquito Verga.
That's not bad.
It's not bad at all.
Man. That's
making
really
every
impressive.
single semis is. I mean, it's what they have to do. You go the furthest you can, then it's semis. They're either gonna face Cuello Tapia or Chingalan. They always face Chingalan, and it's kind of normal that they lose against Chingalan. They've been close. It hasn't been like they haven't walked over them. Chingalan.
Exactly.
They've it's taken the number 2 seeds some games. Like tie breaks, 7-5 sets.
Yeah.
So they're there. They're there.
What did you give them?
I gave them a B.
Okay,
as well.
cool. Yeah.
I gave them a B. I think they deserve a B. The only thing I'm a bit like, is it's kind of like the same with Paquito Verga. It's like you've got 2. It's just they're a bit more aggressive.
Yes.
But it's one of these like unorthodox pairings where you've got probably a more aggressive forehand than a backhand with Yanguas. So they lack a bit of aggression in that way, but they do have a very consistent play style, which is just like pushing the net and going to clash at the volleys.
Yeah, I take that.
And I mean, I do love individually both players. I think their play style individually is, and it's so aesthetically pleasing to watch. Hit like overheads.
Exactly. Their level is super impressive, and the consistency's there.
Yeah. And I think they're the biggest fighters in the circuit in terms of like how much they give every game.
Yeah.
I feel like they're the ones that run the most. They're the ones that end up sweating the most.
Yeah. Yanguas always looks, and Koki
and
too,
Koki's super quick player. It feels like they play their heart out every single game.
No, I'll give you that. So I rated them. I gave them that B+. I like that. So let's give them a B.
Yeah. I don't know how long they'll last though. I have a feeling that maybe Yanguas might try and find someone else, because I know Yanguas is very hungry, and these aren't bad results. They are really good results, but I don't know. What do you guys think about this pairing? Because it's an interesting one.
It's like they're good, but only so good so far.
Is is it one of those ceiling things where it's like the Dineno Stupachuk curse, where they only made semis?
Yeah, exactly.
And every single semis they got taken out.
It could be like that.
I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. All right.
Next.
Top 3 now. Stupa Lebron.
Exactly.
The new pairing, the fresh, new, probably most exciting pairing from 2025.
Yeah.
I have enjoyed watching them so much. There is maybe the little detail for this one. I don't know what if you took this into account.
I took it. I
of the
I
whole
them.
boycott thing.
Yeah.
Because as you guys know, they played they played Cancun or Cancun. They played Cancun.
Yeah.
They were the only ones to sign up to that tournament.
Steve was just like, my lawyer just told me, please,
Yeah.
can we just like, no one say anything right now?
I don't want to get a 30
Yeah.
grand fine.
Exactly. And I love it because he was like the voice of it. LeBron didn't make one statement, and Steve was like fucking posting on Instagram every day. And I was just
okay,
like,
what did you give them? And we'll talk. Interested to
I feel like I'm glazing out them up a little bit.
No, that's fine. It's your opinion.
I give them a B minus. Minus. It was a B plus for me because I really like them as like a new pairing, basically. The minus for being a boycott losers and joining Cancun, basically.
Okay.
I'm interested to hear what you say, but I just think they're great because they add a little bit more stress in that road to like quarters and semis. You know, having them pop up there. You know, not having Stupa and LeBron in the previous tournament, which was Brussels, right? And was it another one after that? It allowed another, set or two teams to get through, which we wouldn't normally really see. But I think once they're there and they're in it and they're locked in and they're playing well, which I think we've said it before, we're seeing like prime LeBron. We're kind of prime LeBron. And I think Stupa's good to like support him for that as well. And, both support each other basically. Yeah. But yeah, I rate them pretty highly actually. I think they're a very strong pairing this year.
Okay.
What did you give them?
I gave them an A.
Okay, hell yeah.
I gave them an A. Okay, so let's break this down. They've made 3 finals. They've been unlucky because one of the Santiago they made, but then the whole Stupa's fever thing happened and they didn't play it. I don't think we should even count the title they won because they won Cancun, which it was like unfair.
Yeah, it was very unfair.
So having one title so far, I don't think plays into ranking them. I just think they're obviously amazing as a pairing.
Yeah.
And I think we said this before, they bring the best out of each other, and I think the most important thing is they're a great contender for. It's like up to 2024, it was basically Chingalan, Cuello Tapia, Cuello Tapia at the top, always battling it out. Yeah. Then Cuello Tapia got the upper hand. I'm not saying necessarily that they could battle for number 1 spot,
right?
Stupa LeBron, but even though they have lost the finals they've made, they've all lost them against. No, not all, but they've lost twice against Chingalan this season already. I think they're a great contender to push them into a seat at the table at the top of the board,
literally
against Chingalan.
And they could they can do it. I think, they can definitely be a present sort of, pairing that gets everyone sort of hyped up as well, basically.
And you've got LeBron playing some of his best paddle ever on the forehand.
As we said, it feels like prime LeBron. All right, we're back. We were chatting about Stupa LeBron a little bit. We had a little technical thing.
You had a B minus?
Yes, I gave them a B minus because I think potentially, yes, they play great and everything, but I have to take into account LeBron as well a little bit and where they have their future prospects together. And it is a little bit, I guess, harsher. I wouldn't say it's harsh, actually. It's like we're 7 tournaments in.
Meet me halfway. A B plus.
Okay, we'll give them a B plus.
B plus done.
We can agree on that.
Yes?
All right, a B plus for LeBron and Stupachuk.
Okay.
That's fine. There we go.
Up to the top 2 now. We've got, obviously, Chingalan. Okay. Do you go first or I go first?
The runner-up Warriors, man. The guys that get to the finals. I'm just joking. They got two titles this year.
2 titles, 4 finals, and 1 quarters from Riyadh, where they got knocked out by Cardona-Burger. That was the loss they had.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that we've spoke about heavily,
so much,
right? And it's like, and you can see it. It's like, didn't start from us, but it's echoing around the paddle world a little bit. Cancingado bring Galan to the number 1 spot. Put that to the side for now. They're both still like fantastic players. Yeah. They're so good.
And as we were saying before, Galan just released an interview with a paddle journalist. I'm not entirely sure which one. Where he did like a 20-minute long interview where he said I am so happy with Chingo, and I know there's a lot of talk about me maybe
finding a new
looking for
partner.
someone else or whatever. It's completely untrue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I think there's just no one else to fill in that spot really that makes the most sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I think everyone's got their opinion. We have ours. You know,
we still love Chingo. That's for sure, man.
Absolutely.
And he's great as well.
Yeah.
So I haven't tanked them completely just because they can't beat Koya and Tapia, right?
Mm-hmm.
I gave them an A-.
I gave them an A.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So
I gave them an A.
Let's give them an A, man.
I
think they deserve to be in the A zone.
Yeah.
Like it's
2 titles, 4 finals.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, they're kryptonite again. The past two tournaments.
Yeah.
We've got obviously Koyo Tapia at number 1, but I mean, I don't know. Hopefully, they can pull something out of the bag that makes them win. And to be honest, I mean, also, I think, I don't know if I should say this, but and this is just a very personal opinion, but I genuinely think that Galan, for me, right now, might be the best player in the world.
Ooh. I'm not offended by that, I'll be honest.
Genuinely, man. In terms of, from a purely paddle point of view, I think the only thing that might not make him the best player in the world is his mentality. Is the whole mental, emotional aspect of the game, because he can get down a lot. But but he's got. I think he's the most complete player in the circuit. I'd say he's, you know. But then you've got obviously over him you've got Coelho and Tapia.
Yeah.
Tapia.
When you were saying this in my mind, I was like, obviously I went straight to Coelho and Tapia, but I think I would give it to Coelho. I think I would. Because I think his consistency is insane, and he can carry.
It is, but he's playing with Tapia.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. Galan's playing with Chingoto. Again, Chingoto, incredible player, but Galan is carrying the offensive side of that team.
Yeah,
going up against Coelho and Tapia. There's a stat that came out where it said Coelho and Tapia share more or less.
It's like 54%.
It was like It was like kind of 50-50 in terms of smash winners for that pairing.
Yeah.
Galan with, I think it was like 82% or something like 80% versus 20 to Chingo, you know?
And this is where all the frustration comes from, though. It's like, dude, you need that both level of aggression type of thing. And that's just not Chingo's play style or approach to the game.
Yeah.
And they don't share it. But just on that topic of best player, I think I'd choose Coelho.
And I think that's very fair. Yeah. And you know, I might be wrong. I think many people would disagree with me, but I think and just purely in terms of paddleistically speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should add that word to the dictionary. Paddleistically.
Paddleistically speaking.
Coined a fucking new word on this show.
Yeah. Okay, but regardless, I think a comfortable A for Chingalan.
Easy A for them.
Easy A.
They're great. They can book themselves into pretty much most finals or semis if you want to give them that. And they play like absolute animals. And then a little bit of difficulty if they match up with that Koya Tapi thing, which is, you know, as to be expected. Yeah. So that's what it is. An A. They're doing well so far. Pat on their backs. Let's chill on the Chingoto slander a little bit. Because even if you want someone else there really isn't. Yeah. There really isn't another option that, you know, logically makes sense as much as like on a chemistry or tactically or physically, you know, there isn't that option there for Galan, which feels frustrating. But it is what it is, and we'll see where they are by the end of the year, basically. Yeah. I'm excited to see our rankings by the end of the year and to see how much it's changed.
Compare it, see how it's
you're going to love
changed.
my next one anyway. But
all
we're
right.
Here, the Golden Boys.
The Golden Boys, Coelho Tapia, number 1 seeds, the King and the Mozart. Okay. What did you give him? You go first or I go first?
You go first.
I go first? Okay. You know, this is a bit boring. That's why I told you I was struggling with this. I gave them also an A. I know I've given top 3 same ranking A, but I think
which makes sense.
If we're talking about, again, 2025 season so far, I think taking everything into account and looking at projections and everything and sensations, I think it's Yeah, I think giving them anything less, which I know you have probably. I know you have, just to be controversial, would be disrespectful to the Kings. But yeah, I mean, come on. 3 titles, 3 finals, 1 semis, and all right, they had a hiccup where they didn't even get to quarters in Santiago, getting knocked out by Cardona Asburger, but Tapia had a broken hand.
Yeah.
So that's fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, you say yours and then we'll discuss.
I gave them a B+. I think, right, I know the whole episode.
So you've given Chingalan above.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I have. I gave Chingalan a higher grading than Koya Tapia.
That's valid.
Because I really feel like, now we bring both of their names in. I don't like saying the phrase hitting the ceiling, but I really do think Chingalan are finding their ways to, playing at their best.
Mm-hmm.
And I think since the season started, we haven't seen Koya and Tapia play at their best. They've had their own complications, basically, with injuries and stuff like that. Also moments where Tapia's maybe not, it takes for a minute for him to wake up and find his rhythm. And, we've seen him make multiple statements on that, even during the game or on the sidelines. That's why I was praising Koyo previously when we spoke about, the best at the moment, because I've seen Koyo carry Tapia, through to go and win a finals as well, like a few times this season. I just remember, I'm just having flashbacks to last season where it was just like instant win, like their road to the final. Chance. They were spending maybe like 4 hours on the court from doing quarters to finals, sweeping up. It was crazy, seeing that level of dominance. And I just know, and maybe it's a little bit of both. Maybe the competitive landscape's also improving and changing, and they have to play against people like Cardona and Augsburger in quarters. It just hasn't been what I know they can play at, basically. And so I know that at some point maybe they'll do the same thing again this year, where they go away for the summer break, don't see their families, train like crazy, and just come back like they're.
But I think that's fair. And if we're comparing them to
I'm being cheeky and comparing them
to
last season,
where it was like an S+.
Yeah, it was crazy
over the whatever.
That. Yeah, it was just like game over for everyone.
Yeah. They still are the best pairing
in
the world. I mean, they are number ones, and they are still number ones in terms of points.
This
season, regardless of having a broken hand and stuff.
I mean, that's two things though. It's like, it's being harsh, like, judging them on their results, because Tapia was, playing with a fractured finger. He's playing with a fractured finger. Should he have been playing? Yeah. Is that why they got those results? Let's not forget they also got knocked out by Cardona and Augsburger in like round 16 too, which is really out of character for Koya and Tapia.
Yeah.
I know injury. I can just hear it already. Someone's going to send me a death threat. I know, giving these guys a B+. But yeah, that's I haven't been that impressed, and I like that. I like that I go in with this a little bit more uneasy feeling of like, okay, fuck, we don't know exactly what we're gonna get, or we're gonna get them playing like absolute demons.
Yeah.
And sometimes it feels like one or the other, basically. And so I gave them a B+. You gave them an A.
So we've got an A, B+. Would you be comfortable coming up to an A-?
I think.
And that would make Chingalan have an A.
Yeah.
And Koyo Tapia have an A-.
Yeah, I think it's a bit more of a diplomatic answer there, and we'll meet in the middle. We're democracy here.
Okay.
And,
yeah, I could see that.
And we'll give them an A, an A-, a low A, just knowing that maybe they're capable of a little bit more.
Yeah. We're being harsh, but it's good.
We're like sweating. We're like, shit, man, this is crazy. God. What are we saying on the internet? But yeah, we've kind of just run through the top men's. We also have to do the women's, obviously.
So there you go. There you're gonna have here. I guess
we haven't done it yet, but it's gonna be
the table's gonna be like there,
or we're gonna be down there. We haven't figured it out yet, but
we'll see.
We'll have it there, so you'll see basically our rankings, and then we'll maybe compare both at the end visually. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that, but we'll see. Figure it out. All
right, cool. Let's go into the women's. For the women's, we only have 8 pairings. Yes. Starting off with the legends Sainz and Yauno.
Obviously, the veterans on the court.
Yeah.
Can't give them that much hate. They're probably at the tail end of their career, but
they're still fighting.
They're still fighting. They paved the way to where Premier Padel is now. Which
I mean, they've just made 2 quarters, but I mean, I don't know what you gave them, but for me, I gave them an E.
I gave them a D. Yeah, because it's like they're not gonna get that far. I know it's not. They're there. All respects to them, but like they just there's so much other competition that just stops them getting there. You know, 2 quarters I think is still great. But
they're just going up against much younger.
Yeah, they're going up against the next generation of paddle, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, I keep emphasizing it, but the respect's there. But yeah, it's a D for me. It's an E for you. Should we give them an E plus or a low D?
Low D.
A low D.
Low D. All right,
but
let's do low D.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
At number 7, we have Jensen Icardo.
Yes.
Interesting one.
Me too. Yeah.
I'm interested to see.
Yeah.
You go first.
I gave them a B minus.
Okay.
I really like them as a pairing. I know they haven't exactly, we have them here. They've reached the quarterfinals every tournament they played in from the beginning. The consistency's there. I just love their chemistry. I like them as players as well as personalities. I saw a lovely Instagram post from Jensen, and she was sort of describing that they got described as this sort of like I think the word was like vitamin or something like that. Like the energy that they possess when they're playing on the court is really, really special, and I like that. And that's something results aside, I really appreciate seeing because I love the chemistry. I like their determination, and I think they're bringing it. And the rest of the field above them is really tough competition, but yet they stick there and they make it harder for the usual suspects that get to semis and finals. And I just know, what? Let's see where they go at the beginning. But from their start, from the beginning of the year, has been great. I think they're fantastic as a pairing, and I really like them. They're one of my favorite pairings. Yeah. So I don't know what you gave them, but I gave them a B minus, a low B.
I gave them a B.
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah.
It's the exact same reasons because of consistency.
Yes.
Making 7 quarterfinals isn't that bad. Being, like they are like seeded number 6 or number 7, I think, in tournaments. So quite impressive. And again, I think seeing as there was quite of a, ripple effect a bit further up the line in women's paddle, seeing them sort of trust in their project together gives me a lot of confidence, and I do really like them as a pairing.
I think they're great.
Consistent as well. So a B.
Let's give them a B.
Let's give them a B. Yeah,
straight
standard
up B.
Yeah.
Jensen and Cardo, keep going. They're great. Hopefully we can see them make some semis. Maybe a final.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's pretty tough competition, I'll be honest. Yeah. But yeah, I like them. Let's do that. They've got a nice B from us. Okay. So now we've got a pairing that's actually split.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite pairings, unfortunately.
Who've been playing, we've talked a lot about them, and they've been playing for a long time together. Alonso and Ustero.
Yeah.
They've split now, and they're swapping pairings with Ortega and Araujo.
Yes. Correct? Yes. Yeah.
So
I mean, Alonso's playing with Ortega. Ustero's playing with gosh, you just said her name. Why can't I remember it?
Araujo.
Araujo.
No, I think it's.
No, I think that's correct. I'm pretty sure. I'm 99% sure that's correct.
Okay.
If I'm not, well,
that's
wrong.
fine.
I put my hands up.
Doesn't matter. They've swapped pairings. Yeah,
they swapped around.
Yeah.
Alonso and Ustero, I was very excited for before the season started, a few tournaments in. I think the last 2 tournaments, I started thinking, and I remember watching the tournaments and going like, hang on a second, where are like Ustero and Alonso? They're getting knocked out super early. What's going on? And then, a few weeks later, they announced their split. So, this is something I spoke to Hugh about as well. They're so great, and they're so young as well. I think Ustero is still like 19 years old or something like that. And
they're like the Cardona Ausburger of the female side.
Yeah, but way bringing that aggressive edge. They're not. Ustero is just, her play style is much more aggressive.
Yeah.
And I love that. I like seeing her smash. She's got a great smash. And Alonso's also incredible too. Yeah. So I'll give them that.
Yeah, they ended with a bang last season, getting into the Masters.
Oh my God,
the Master finals. And I feel like they've sort of kept riding that wave into 2025.
Yes, kind of, but then they lost their steam. Maybe there was some internal things going on.
I think it has more to do with just the fact that they're both very young, and they probably need someone with a bit more experience, also a ranking issue, so that they can get better. It benefits them both because they're both pairing up with higher ranks.
And that's what they did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's going to be interesting to see how they sort of go forward and which pairing gels better than the other, because I think there's always one. They're not going to be equal. I will stick with Estero, and I'll still be a fan with her. Obviously, all the best to Alonso, but yeah, I'm more excited about that basically, and I hope that brings them good sort of like future prospects as a teammate. I'm sure they're going to learn a lot as well, and yeah, we'll see where they are. I gave them. Did we say already?
No.
I gave them a C.
I gave them a B.
Oh, okay. Wow, a split pairing that got a B. Shit. Yeah. I think you got to come down to the C.
Okay.
Because they split. Right?
Yeah. I mean, they made 2 semis and 2 quarters.
Yes.
It's not bad. But okay. Yes. Let's give them a high C plus.
You got to take into account like 7 tournaments in, and they're going their separate ways.
Yeah.
So a C plus.
Okay, C plus.
Yeah, we'll give them a C plus, and all the best of them. Maybe we'll see them play later down the line. I don't know. But yeah, I love watching them play. Should we move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Salazar and Verseda. I feel like you just saw my ranking.
No.
I gave them a D.
You gave them a D.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like they haven't been like, okay, they got 2 semis, 2 quarters over 7 tournaments. I just feel like they're similar, kind of half true with Sainz and Yaguno. Salazar, also a legend in the paddle world, is also on the other side, so she's got to keep up with a lot of the younger players. Verseda's fantastic. I also love her. She's obviously a little bit younger. And I just don't see them, getting any better than they are already. So I feel
and
like
in terms of points, in terms of how they're seated, they should probably get better results.
Yeah, I think
in terms of their individual and pair ranking.
Yeah.
I gave them a C.
Okay, so should we give them a C, low C then?
Low C.
Yeah, we'll give them a low C.
Low C.
It's just another pairing that I know is there. They're gonna get through, make their mark, but it's just like they don't have that competitive edge. I think I'm basing it off if I'm watching the tournament or whatever tournament it is, and if they got past, or they got into semis, which they've done twice now. Don't get me wrong. I would be shocked if they went through to a final. I'd be like, holy shit, Hugh, Salazar and Verseda went through to play, Sanchez, Jose Maria, or Bria Trei.
Yeah.
Bria Trei.
Bria.
Yeah, I'm just like merging their names together.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just, it's a little bit of I'm being harsh, I know. But
No, but it's good. It's good. Okay.
We'll give it there. Next pairing.
Ortega and Araujo.
Another split pairing. We'll put like a red ring around them or whatever for all the split pairings that we've done. Man, I gave them an F. They were shit.
You gave them an F?
Yeah, I gave them an
F.
F.
They weren't that bad.
Dude, they split up.
They did split up, but they weren't that bad. They split up because they had the opportunity of Ustero Alonso as well. But they're not amazing. But an F?
Yeah, I gave them an F.
They made a finals and a semis.
I'm an asshole. What do you want? It's another pairing, similar vibes where it's just like they're great, but only so great.
Yeah.
And now they split up seven tournaments in. I know to play with younger players.
Yeah.
It's just that I know, don't get me wrong, I know how great they are individually, and they're very, very good. I think Marta Ortega is a fantastic player, and that they both have potential to be in, a little bit higher, and and they just couldn't do it together. So that's why I think they split. They had an opportunity to play with younger players, but it was pretty disappointing. I'll be honest. What did you give them?
I gave them a C.
Shit, this is our first and only one that has quite drastic.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me why you gave them a C, and maybe why I'm wrong?
Because I liked them together, the way they played. Yeah, they didn't get amazing results, but I don't think they deserve an F, like the worst possible ranking ever. And C isn't amazing. I would be comfortable. Maybe mine's a bit high. I don't know. I'd be comfortable giving them a D.
I just had like a little flash shot of all of like Araujo's like dope shots that she's done. So I am feeling a little bit of ranking regret. I'll be honest, guys.
But to be fair, they are seeded number 4.
Yes.
And they haven't been
They weren't playing well together. It wasn't like a consistent pairing. It was
maybe a low D, high E or something.
Like, I'm willing to compromise a little bit. let's give them a high D.
High D.
Yeah. Well, you gave them a C, right?
I gave them a C. Yeah, but it just surprises me that you go all the way
Yeah,
up. I feel self-conscious.
I'm spineless, man. I'm crumbling over here. I just think they're both really great players, but as a pairing, it just didn't work.
It just didn't work.
Yeah, okay.
It's like a Garrido Dineno kind of.
They got to the finals in Cancun.
Vibe. Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like I want it to be great, and that's awesome. But yeah, it wasn't.
Let's give him a low D. Let's give him a low D.
Low D it is.
Low D. Okay. All right. And now into the top three. We've got Gonzalez and Fernandez.
Yes.
We were
meant to get a final.
They've got finals. They've got 4 semis.
Yeah.
They're consistent. We were excited to see how they were going to play.
Yes.
Obviously, as you guys know, coming from like they swapped pairs with the current number 1 seeds in 2025.
Yep.
Triay and Brea. They obviously got the short end of the straw, kind of, but we were interested to see how they play. Yeah, and I think their performances have been decent. They've lost against pairs other 2 pairs that are higher than them. They've had a bit of a hiccup in some tournaments, but decent all round. I gave them a B.
Yes. Which I think is pretty fair. I gave them a little bit lower. I gave them a C.
Okay.
Because I think my expectations at the beginning of the year were pretty high for them. I think Claudia Fernandez is an amazing player, and I loved watching her play with Gemma last year. Also, Bea Gonzalez is just as great, if not maybe a little bit better. But I don't think their track record so far from the start of the season to where it is now has impress me. I don't think they're going to split. I think they're going to stay consistent.
I don't think they have better options.
There's a lack of consistency, I swear. They have their odd tournaments, like, for example, the last one in Brussels, where they took Gemma Triay and Delphi to 3 sets, taking the steam out of them. So when they went to the finals, Gemma and Delphi were gassed out by halfway through the first set. They are very strong playing. I'm talking about Gonzalez and Fernandez. I think it's great, but there was just too many hiccups because I don't want to pick on it too much. Gonzalez has her thing with her injuries as well, which we saw last year, and it kind of popped up a little bit this year. I just was expecting a little bit more, and it's probably me having too high expectations. I'll take that versus where we are 7 tournaments in. Super early, I know. I want to see them do better, and that's why I gave them a little bit of a lower ranking, basically, because I don't think, they've made a huge impact on me.
I think they're lacking a bit of confidence.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the main things for me about this pairing. And one bone to pick that I have,
which is
maybe someone agrees and maybe someone completely disagrees. I think Claudia Fernandez can I feel like she lacks a bit of heart sometimes. I know she's super young, but there's many shots where I feel like she kind of gives up and doesn't do everything to try and get that ball, or just assumes, just sort of it's over. She gets a passing shot down the line from her opponent, and she just kind of sort of drags her racket or something.
Shit, man.
And I feel like maybe Gemma Triay got a bit more out of her in that sense, because she had Triay, being, in my opinion, by far the best.
She's a beast.
My favorite female player. I think she's the best in the world. But
we're gonna go and rank them in a second.
But yeah, okay. So I gave them a B. You gave them a C.
Yeah.
I'd be comfortable in
B
doing
minus.
Yeah, B minus or C plus.
We're gonna have a fat B section, I know, in this whole thing, which is,
but
we're not here fucking doing the craziest takes.
Yeah.
I know I just gave Salazar and Vaseda a D earlier, but
I think maybe after our conversation, let's give him a C plus. Let's give him C plus.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is the whole point of this. There's room to grow.
Yeah.
They can get better. We're not gonna be scared and give them a lower ranking for just because we feel mean or whatever. But I think they have the possibility to be a really strong pairing. They just need to fly a little bit more, on the court, I think, and make a proper name for themselves. That's why I said at the beginning, my expectations were high, and I don't think reality met them necessarily. Is it impossible for reality to meet those expectations? Yeah, 100%. They just have to have more time to do that, and hopefully no injuries come their way or whatever. And yeah, I got so excited at the beginning of the year because they made it to the finals in Riyadh, and unfortunately we didn't get it because of the rain or whatever. And then yeah, it was a little bit of like a slow-ish downhill slope for me. 7 tournaments in from now, super early. I'll preface that. But yeah, I want them to give a little bit more. I want them to be a bit more of a dangerous pairing, and I just feel like they have their moments. Don't get me wrong, but they've also had their moments where they just didn't show up basically, and they just got crushed. So yeah, we'll give them that. What was the final verdict? Low B or high C?
I think high C. High C.
It's a C plus from us on Gonzalez and Fernandez.
All right, let's go into the final two. We've got just because of again 2025 ranking, we've got at number 2 we've got Sanchez and Jose Maria, who've had. I mean, they've got 2 titles, 5 finals. Very good results overall. However, I think that the conversation here is about it's the same as Chingalan Coyo Tapia.
Yeah,
it's that battle between the top 2 pairings, right? That nearly always meet at the final.
Yeah.
And what's going on there, I
mean, it's an exciting time for to see the number one spot be sort of contested for.
Yeah.
Last year they were also. Is it fair that I'm quoting shit from last year?
No, it is. It is just to compare it to
Yeah, exactly. Last year they were just dangerous, and it did feel the same energy as Coya and Tapia, where it was like, here we go again. Sanchez, Jose Maria, take another dub. All respect to them. Fantastic.
However, Triay and Fernandez did get quite a few wins, but I think it wasn't as like it wasn't a complete walkover, but. Yeah, they were clearly the number ones.
Yeah, the consistency was there from them. And that's what lacks a little bit this season, right? Yeah. Okay, they made 5 finals, 2 titles. They're picking up 2 titles. That shows you though. Like, and I'm pretty sure they lost most of those, titles to Gemma and Delphi, right?
Yeah.
The only thing that I'm sure we've spoken about it as well, that we pick up on is that it's like they zone out. Maybe that's a really bad word to use, or there's moments of like when they're locked in, ready to go, they're showing up, they're playing, and then they hit like the second set, and then they dip.
There's like a concentration issue there, right?
Genuinely I don't know what it is, to be honest. I don't think it's a concentration issue. I think it's a little bit more like what's the word? Like nuance in that. I just don't think Sanchez is just like staring out the window.
No. But in terms of like
to keep that energy.
They kind of lose a bit of focus when they get into that second set.
They're not dialed in constantly during the game. And I think that's part of it, right?
Yeah, and they give away easy points sometimes. However, they are they still are number 1.
Yes.
A seeded pair in the world.
But to convert 5 finals and only walk away with 2. I also think that's a little bit repetitive, and which is why I gave them a B+.
Okay.
Which is, it's harsh.
Yeah.
Same reasons for almost Coya and Tapia.
I was super torn between. I didn't know yet between a high B and a low A.
Right. Okay.
So I think getting your score, I think very high B.
Yeah, they're still.
Yeah, but I think that's the key. The conversion of tournament dubs.
Yeah, 5. I think it's early days still, but just from their their momentum of last year, their confidence, and now they have probably a new enemy, if you want to call them enemies, but on the circuit now, which we'll go into after this. But there were just moments where I'm like, come on, a little bit like, let's pick up the fucking pace. Let's secure your win. You could have taken it in two sets basically, but now we're in a third set, and I've seen that maybe 2 or 3 tournaments now. So that's why I was a little bit harsh, but hopefully they either pick up the pieces. I don't think they're gonna change. They're so good with both of them. I love their chemistry. They play with smiles on their faces whether they're winning or losing. Yeah. And I'll also add this on now. I just think Jose Maria as well has just like not overtaken, but she really has shined this year as well. Whereas last year when I was watching Ari and Paula play together, I was always like, fuck, Ari Sanchez, magic Ari, she's amazing, man. And just to see Jose Maria also just like spike up this year, I'll give him that. But we decided on a high B. Yeah, it's a high B for them. Room to grow. They have so much to defend for. The Queens of Paddle, that's like the fun little thing, right? But the pressure's on them. if they can stay that consistent, lock in for the whole game, secure those wins, I think that's what matters the most, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, they just have another pairing breathing down their neck, which we'll move to now, I guess. And that's Delphi Brea and Gemma Triai.
The top pairing right now in terms of points for the 2025 season.
A new pairing too.
New pairing, yeah. I mean,
it's S.
It
man.
has to be an S.
It's an S.
I think it's the only S, and I think it's very well deserved. We've got 4 titles out of 7.
Yeah,
they've played. So they've made 2 finals, which they lost. It's the 2 tournament wins that Sanchez and Jose Maria got, and then 1 semis that they lost against at the beginning of the season, González Fernandez.
Yeah.
But I mean, they are.
They showed up. They took it. They've been such a dominating pair to come in like guns blazing already.
Yeah.
Gemma Triai is just like an absolute
She's
beast.
an animal.
I love watching her play, man. She's good in every part of the court.
And what we were saying before, for me, I think she's the best female player in the world.
Do I think that as well?
I think so. Some people will say Jose Maria, but I get it, yes. But I think, regardless of ranking, I think Gemma Triai is at the highest.
I think so.
Level.
She just plays with so much confidence, man, and she just like no one messes around with her type of vibe.
So intelligent,
and also to have Delphi next to her, who is also just an absolute beast.
And she's shining now. I think I think the good thing about Triai as well is that she gets the best out of her partners.
100%.
And her emotional game is super strong as well.
So
she's a fighter. Apart from her technical ability, physicality, the power she can get, how she plays paddle in general, I think the mental side of things, which is very important in racket sports, I think she's got that.
Oh, they're so dialed in. They seem so like mentally determined. Like not questioning. I mean, the first time we saw them, crumble was back in Brussels, a few weeks ago, where they were just got gassed out basically, and that's the only time. Well, one of the times that Sanchez and Jose Maria picked that dub up. But they've just been super impressive out the gate. Know what they're doing, how they want to play, and they've completely made a name for themselves this season. So we have to give them an S, and we agree on that. I think
there we go.
The only S that we gave.
Yeah.
And that's also the last sort of team mates on our list as well. Yeah. So
that's the end of the ranking.
We got there at the end. I hope this hasn't been like a painful experience, but please do let us know what you guys think as well.
If you like these kind of episodes, if you've got ideas of other things that we could do, we're also just fairly new to this. We're trying out things.
It's our first time doing a little ranking thing.
And we want to bring entertaining content for you guys. That's our ultimate goal always.
Definitely.
Yeah,
we're here at the end of the episode where we have another week. I think Premier Padel comes back next weekend. So we will be back with doing that. I think they're in Paraguay. Is it Paraguay? Yeah, I think it is. We'll see what the time zones are like for that one. But yeah, it's been fun. Let us know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully for the podcast listeners, this wasn't too much of like a non-visual episode for you. So if you do want to catch up, just check us out on Spotify or YouTube, and then you'll get our video feed basically.
Yeah.
But again, thank you very much, guys, for watching. Another episode down. Let's go, and please come back for the next one.
Yeah.
Hit that subscribe button.
We'll see you on the next one, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in.